Hey, I'm Jason Loughlin and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you a Travis picking pattern that I think you can get a lot of mileage out of. Knowing a common Travis picking pattern is great for any guitarists that are looking to play country music, rockabilly, country blues. Patterns like the one I'm going to show you are go-to patterns that players like Chet Atkins, Merle Travis, Carl Perkins, Scotty Moore, and Brian Setzer rely on. Stick around, it's going to be a fun one. In that performance, I'm playing the melody to a Carl Perkins tune called Right String, Wrong Yo-Yo. And that whole melody is being supported by a 2-bar Travis picking pattern. All right, before we get into it, make sure you grab the free notation and tab down below so you could follow along with this lesson. And as always, if you want to help me to keep on sharing free lessons like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You could also support what I do by checking out my teaching website. I'll put those links all down below. So Travis picking is really the adaptation of stride piano. And blues guitarists and ragtime guitarists were using this technique, but the first guitarist to really grab national attention using this technique was Merle Travis. And the technique consists of having an alternating bass line on the lower strings and melody notes on the upper strings. So we're going to do this over 1-4-5 progression in the key of A. And I'm going to start with my first shape here that I'm going to use for the 1 chord, the A. And it's going to be an A6 chord. And on the top 4 strings, I'm going to be playing the root, the 3rd, the 6th, and the root. Then I'm leaving the A string, the 5th string, kind of open, and I'm going to come across with my thumb, grab the low A, and let the pad of my thumb mute that low A there. So that's going to be my first chord, my 1 chord. Now, I understand that not everybody is friends with using the thumb. That's okay. If this is a little too hard for you to do, then what you could do is an A13 chord instead, where you're barring across, making what looks like an A7, root, 5, flat 7, 3, and then throw your pinky down on the 7th fret of the B string. That gives you the 13. That's an option too. I use this one because it gives me more chances to embellish with the pinky, and as you get better at this, you're going to want to have at least 1 finger freed up in each one of these shapes for embellishments. Okay, so that's our first shape for the 1 chord. Let's check out this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let me talk through what I'm doing here. This pattern is a 2-bar pattern, so let's break it up into 2 parts. Let's take a look at measure 1. So the first thing that I have is that alternating bass line, and that's happening between the 6th and the 4th string right on the quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The melody notes are happening really just on the first 2 strings, the E and the B string. So I have beat 1 as a bass note, 1. On beat 2, I'm playing the high E string with the bass note, grabbing both those at the same time. So 1, 2. Beat 3, I'm coming across for the bass note on the low E string. On the upbeat, I'm going to be playing the B string. So that's 3 and. So 1, 2, 3 and. Beat 4 is just the bass note by itself. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you may notice that I'm muting and controlling those lower notes so that they don't overwhelm the melody notes. So I'm just kind of muting on the bottom 3 strings and trying my best to not get in the way of those top 3 strings so the melody can cut through. Now, that's a totally great pattern as is. But let's take a look at measure 2 now. Measure 2, the alternating bass line stays exactly the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our melody is going to change a little bit, but it stays on the same two strings, the E and the B string. So on beat 1, I have the high E string, 1. Then I come across for beat 2, and I'm going to play the B string on the upbeat, 2, and back to the low E string for beat 3, and I'm going to play the E string on the upbeat, 3, and then land on 4. So I have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so now I have my two parts of this Travis picking pattern. Let me put this together. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And when you're practicing this, just do it super slow. Don't try to go by ear. Take a look at that free tab and notation that I'm sharing with you. Just go beat by beat and make sure that you're getting this really accurate. It's going to sound not like the thing at first when you're practicing it. When you're doing this really slow and just getting everything to line up just right, it's going to be kind of hard to see the big picture of how this is supposed to sound. But just trust in that process. Take the time. It will pay off later down the line. All right, so bringing that up to tempo, I'll start with this slow, and then I'll bring it up a little faster, and you can kind of start to get a sense of what this sounds like. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So that's our pattern for our 1 chord in our 12-bar progression here. For the 4 chord, I'm going to use some kind of D chord. That's the 4 chord. Let's do this shape because I think this is a great shape when you're playing country blues and rockabilly. And this is going to be a movable A7 shape. So it's like I'm taking that A7 and scooting this up. And you hear this shape a lot in rockabilly music especially. So you have root 5th, root 3, flat 7. The only thing that changes is the alternating bass line here. Now my alternating bass line is going to be between the 5th and 4th string. 1, 2, 3, 4. But my melody notes are still going to be the exact same rhythm, exact same pattern, and exact same string. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's measure 1. Measure 2 will be 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Put them together. Okay, now let's move on to the 5 chord, and let's take this opportunity to choose a new chord, a new color here. So rather than just take this D7 and scoot it up to an E7, let's change it up and let's make an E9. That gives us a new color to play around with here. We'll keep things interesting. Also a common shape that we should all know, right? Nothing changes in the right hand. The right hand is going to stay exactly the same. The only thing that changed is the shape. My alternating bass line is still on the 5th and 4th string. My melody notes are still on the E and B string. So measure 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Measure 2, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Together. Now we have 3 different shapes, 3 different sounds. We have an A6 chord, we have a D7 chord, we have an E9, and we have a 2-bar Travis picking pattern we can apply to each one of these. So we have everything we need to play a 1-4-5 progression in A. And for this, I don't even need a backing track because I'm basically playing rhythm for myself. But this is definitely something you could do in context of a band, of course. All right, so let's do this over a 1-4-5 progression. So when I play this, playing the 1 chord for 4 bars, but remember our pattern is a 2-bar pattern. So that means I'm going to play this pattern 2 times through. Two times through the pattern is 4 bars. Then we're going to go to the 4 chord, and we're going to play the 2-bar pattern once because we're only on the 4 chord for 2 bars. Back to the 1 chord for 2 bars. So that means 1 time through the pattern. To the 5 chord for 2 bars. 1 time through the pattern. Back to the 1 chord for 2 bars. So I'm going to do this again, and I was using the A13 for some of you because I know some of you are probably using that shape. Let me try this all together in time here, and I'm going to use my thumb over the top here. So. Now, all the chord shapes that I showed you are movable. So if you want to do this in another key, it's pretty easy to do. We were playing in A, got my root on A here. Say I want to play in the key of C and play a 1-4-5 progression. I just move this up, A, B, C. There's my chord. All the relationships to the other chords stay the same. Right hand stays the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Little thing on your end, but it's a big deal for helping me to keep growing this channel and to keep on sharing free lessons like these. If you want to support me in other ways, you could go check out my teaching website where I have tons of guitar courses, master classes, and collections of jam tracks. Thanks for watching.